Timothy Munyao, I'm not sure if he's around. Kindly. Yeah. A round of applause for Timothy, please. Do not serve the stage. So the last panel, actually, I don't know why they put cloud the last, because to most people, cloud is boring. Is cloud boring to you? Most people think cloud is boring, but I disagree. And the thing about cloud, when you hear about cloud or migration to the cloud, when you are told that you'll have your photos in the cloud, that's something good. Yeah, I don't have to walk around with hard drives and all that to keep my photos and videos. But when you hear that your money is going to the cloud, now that's where the problem is. And that's what we're going to discuss here today, together with my very able panelists. And now I'm going to give the floor to the gentlemen to introduce themselves, and then we'll get right on to the discussion. I can start with Tim.
My name is Timothy Munyao. I represent 11 Degrees Consulting Limited. We're the first Kenyan AWS advanced partner. Our playground is at the intersection of financial services and technology. So, having the conversation about how Saccos can leverage the cloud to transform their business, improve on efficiency, as well as drive growth.
Yes, David.
My name is David Oremi. I'm the CEO of Cloudun. We're a cloud company. Now, the first time I started working in Saccos was in 2016. That's the time we launched our cloud platform of Saccos. Back then it was completely unheard of or hard to sell. But I'm glad that we are starting to embrace cloud for even our financial institution, and in this case Saccos. And it's an exciting conversation because we just need to deal with a few misconceptions, then we can be able to tap into the cloud and enjoy, transformation for our Saccos. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Peter.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's been a lovely session, and I'm loving it. My name is Peter Mushemi. I'm the CEO and co-founder of FIDHR. FIDHR is an all-in-one payroll and HR cloud platform. Other than that, I'm a techie by profession, and I'm an evangelist, although not for the gospel, but don't confuse me with Kanyari. I spread the word of cloud evangelism, so that I can help you understand cloud better, see the benefits, and try to make you, adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And I'm going to start with David. You had a presentation earlier, and I remember you asked if there are any Saccos that have migrated to the cloud. And now the question is, if a Sacco wants to move to the cloud, what are the factors that they need to consider, the very important factors, when choosing the best cloud service provider?
All right, thank you. I think that's a great question. So I think now that you're looking at who to partner with, and therefore you need to have, just to build up on what I said earlier, you need to have your bare minimums. Like, what are you looking to do with this, cloud adoption? Let's say we want to go full cloud and branchless. If that's your objective, what are the kind of products you are looking at? So with your bare minimum in terms of functionality, you'll try to evaluate whether the potential partners they can support you that. Then, like one presenter said here, then are they ready even to work with you further? Like, are they ready to customize their offering so that it can serve you, the way you need it? After that, you need to consider the regulatory framework or compliance. Now, where is this provider? Are they based in the US? Are they based in Kenya? If they are based in Australia, do they have Kenyan compliance, regulatory framework in mind? Do they support it? And after that, you need to look at what about your business continuity and risk mitigation plans? Do these providers really care about that? Are they able to support that for you? So if the partner that ticks those options and they are ready to walk that journey with you, that's the best partner to work with. Yes.
All right, and I think, apologies to the crowd, I've gone a step further because before we talk about the factors that you need to consider when choosing a cloud provider, first of all, maybe our Saccos here aren't convinced that they need to move to the cloud. So maybe, Timothy, if you may, why should a Sacco migrate to the cloud? What do they stand to benefit?
I think there's a lot of reason that Saccos and any other financial institution should move to the cloud. One is, I think as a financial institution, your focus should be in growing the business and rather not worried about your IT infrastructure. And again, obviously, because on the cloud you're able to manage your costs more effectively. There is also a whole bunch of technology services that you would take advantage on while on the cloud as compared to being on-prem. I just want to focus on CapEx and OpEx, because if as a business you're not able to control your costs, then it becomes difficult for you to grow, right? So I think migrating to the cloud will give you advantage on reducing your capital investment in terms of the infrastructure that you have to invest in, and the fact that you're not even able to predict whether you're really utilizing everything that you're paying for. Whereas in the cloud, you're only paying for the services that you're using and when you use them, right? The other thing that I want to focus on is right now we are in the age of AI and machine learning. We've seen institutions that have taken advantage of the cloud technology and utilizing machine learning and AI to drive fast decision making, crediting to their customers. And I think that just forms a basis for why Saccos and banks should move to the cloud. Yes, there is question of security and regulation of data, because there is always a conversation about data residency, and I think that's something that with time cloud providers are building into. As AWS, we are able to allow customers to build on hybrid solutions where you have the data that you want to retain on-prem, or which you classify as sensitive and should reside on-prem, and still have the rest of your services running on the cloud, and that provides efficiency.
Yeah, I think you've talked about some of the risks, and I think we'll circle back to that. But I liked how you talked about infrastructure. The way that you're moving from on-prem and moving to the cloud, it helps you reduce costs for a Sacco. And now this brings me to Peter, because you're someone who has experience in the cloud. You've worked with the cloud in multiple industries, not just Saccos. So in the case of Saccos, what are some of the other costs that you'll cut down if you move to the cloud? And also, if you can touch on the issue of flexibility and scalability that Saccos will stand to benefit when they move to the cloud.
All right, thank you for that question. So I think for me, it's very important to understand the core basics or components of cloud computing. Without, first of all, understanding that, then we might not be able to get maximum information from this. So we have three components, which is infrastructure as a service, and then there is a platform as a service, and then there is software as a service. So when you're talking of cost reduction, it's very important to understand at what layer are we reducing cost. So when you're talking of servers, infrastructure and all that, you enjoy what you call infrastructure as a service, whereby you don't have to spend money on buying servers and installing them on-prem. But now, when it comes to stuff like operation costs, instead of buying softwares, getting licenses, for that you need a one-off sort of budget. And this is where we are talking of $1 million, $10,000. When it comes to software as a service, you can be able to use them for free, probably for a particular period of time. You can also be able to start using them without investing 0 shillings. Okay, so that will allow you to first of all test the product, know whether it's the right product for your business, and know whether it's the right product that will push the vision of the Sacco forward. So the other issue of probably the benefit, like you've asked, of cloud computing is scalability. So assuming a situation whereby you have, right now probably you have 10,000 members, and all of them are able to transact without any challenge. Probably they are withdrawing or checking balances. Then over time, probably there is a holiday coming, and all of them want to access their money. And then you have a very high traffic, and all of a sudden, all your servers crashes. So with cloud computing, you are able to scale on demand, whereby you can enjoy services that can auto scale. So what that means is, if you have one server that can handle a load of 10,000 transactions per day, probably auto scaling can be able to, create another instance or another server virtually that will now pick up the traffic that is coming. Remember, on premise, you have to buy more hard disk, more servers, probably stack them in a room, and these are physical. You have to configure, employ engineers to do that. But you see now, when we're talking of demand, you just pay for what you use. If, for example, the scale load was high over the weekend, you will only be able to pay for that. And of course, finally, because of time, there is something I like when we talk of reliability. So when it comes to business continuity, if probably one server crashes, what happens? That's where you are told by the IT, our server are out for the entire weekend. So now, as a customer, how do you think I'll feel in terms of the customer experience? It's very poor, because, well, that's not my business. Whether your servers are down, I need to access my money. But you see now, with the redundancy, what happens is, in case one of the servers fails, you can be able to quickly configure another server to pick up and start serving your customers. That way, the customer will never know whether you have a downtime or not. And of course, we have so many other advantages which probably the other panelists can maybe handle.
Yeah, sure. And well, Timothy, you said something about security when moving to the cloud. And I want to float this question, not to anyone specifically in the panel. Actually, even members of the crowd, you can take part in this. So when you move to the cloud, does it become easier for you to manage your cyber security, or does it become more difficult? No wrong answer. Anyone who just wants, easier or not?
Maybe I think
Timothy, before we get into that, let me see if there's anyone. Yeah? Both? Yeah, we have a both there. Anyone who has a different perspective? Okay, now then, Timothy, you.
I think as compared to operating your IT operations on-prem to the cloud, is the advantage with being on the cloud is that security becomes a shared responsibility. But as a Sacco, it's not only your responsibility to secure your data. It is both a responsibility for the cloud provider and you as a customer. How does that apply? That as much as we speak of the cloud, these are virtual data centers with
VMs operating 24 hours throughout the year. So there is a physical infrastructure somewhere. So that physical infrastructure is the responsibility of the cloud provider to secure. It is the responsibility of the cloud provider to ensure that the data that is stored in those VMs is secured by providing services that will protect that data, for instance, encryption. Then it is the responsibility of the customer to ensure that the data that is stored there is only accessed by the people that are supposed to. One, for using secure methods of accessing that data, ensuring that the systems that are pointing to those data sources are also authenticated. So I think that more or less relieves the pain of securing your workloads on the cloud.
What do you think? What do you think, David?
For me, I would say cloud is you're in a better position in the cloud, and my perspective is that I think there's some statistics that are, especially in Kenya, where we say close to 70% of fraud is internal, and one of the biggest losses or where we are losing money as Saccos is through fraud. Now the assumption that a Sacco is secure with a server in the office or
one person who has the key to the server.
I mean, it is not in line with that statistic, because it's saying that 70% of chances you lose money through that very person or the associate of that very person. So cloud presents a multi-approach framework to secure your data or your customers' interests, in this case members, as opposed to the server. So I would say as much as cloud has a global exposure and there's a lot of unknowns, I'll still go for the cloud as a more secure option.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Peter, before you get, because you also talked about the factors that one should consider when choosing a cloud service provider, and there's also the issue when it comes to the issue of security. There's over-reliance on your service provider to provide security because you have trusted this person, because you went through all those factors, you vetted them, and you know that these are the people. But now when it comes to a time where now you've been hacked or you've lost money, and you can't go back to explain to a member that it was this service provider. And so, Peter, when you respond to that same question, maybe you could add on how to handle, or how can you rely on a service provider? What can you leave to them, and what can you share in terms of responsibility between you as a Sacco and your cloud service provider?
All right, thank you. I think I've been doing cloud for the last almost 6 years, and any day I would choose cloud for very many reasons. One of them is the better part of the job is handled by the cloud provider. So at the infrastructure layer, I don't need to worry about patches. For example, if you're doing one of the providers I use, they normally send you notifications to update your server automatically. So just run one code and the whole server is patched. So when you're talking on-prem, you're literally dealing with so many things. With goons, with these, they can literally come and take your server and go with your server and your data. So it's a better of a risk when you on-prem. So the other issue is it's a collective responsibility between the vendor and the Sacco. Okay. as a client, because there are some aspects, best practices that you need to do so that you can make sure that your server is safe. For example, one of the probably basic thing is the port you should not open for your server, because if you do and you leave them open, probably remotely I would access your server and just have control. So there are some of the things you need to do. Other than that, there are services that allows you to do probably like automated backups, so that you can have failover. Probably there's a breach, because there's nothing like 100% security. I'm not a security expert, but I think I learned that sometimes back. So there's nothing like 100% security. But now once you are hit, what happens? Do you shut everything down? So I think the cloud allows you to automatically take backups, even for the whole server. You can literally take a snapshot of the whole server, so that in case something happens tomorrow, you'll just reboot and start from where you were yesterday. So when it comes to data, in case someone has just taken your data and you have data backup, with the cloud, you can be able to have that hybrid approach whereby you are doing backup in different regions, maybe from South Africa, Europe, USA. But you see now for on-prem, you have to do backup probably with a hard disk, and then you entrust with my friend David here, who can run away and sabotage you.
Yeah. So do you have any questions so far from the crowd? Or you're convinced that and you're now moving to the cloud? So while you're brainstorming on your questions, there's also something about technological failure in terms of when you move to the cloud, or cloud failure. And you've talked about, Peter, you've talked about having that shared responsibility, and when you are when you're under attack as a Sacco, and you have your servers, and you can actually minimize the risk and you can minimize the losses. But when it comes to a technological failure, because now this is a panel of cloud specialists, how will you go about, what steps will you take as a Sacco to solve that and to ensure that members will have to, whenever they need to any services, they could access them on the spot? Maybe I can start with you, Timothy. How will you handle technological failure as a Sacco?
In tech, we say that everything fails at some point, right? So as we push the agenda of migrating to the cloud, we always advise that you make sure that your solutions or your workload on the cloud is well architected, and we have a whole framework that guides on ensuring that you build for resiliency. One is when you're deploying, say, your core business suite to the cloud, you can only just deploy it in a single server, in a single availability zone, because say there's a terrorist attack to that availability zone, and all the servers within that area have been destroyed. So what happens? That means your business is crashed, right? So what we advise is that you deploy your workload in multiple availability zones, so that say there's an attack or there's some sort of failure in technology, your solution will keep on running from the other availability zone automatically without having to be spinned up by your tech person. The other thing is
maybe you can wind up, because we have, and also while at it, you can also give us your parting shot of 1 minute after answering that question.
Yeah, so the other thing is maximizing on your backups. We have automated systems for backing up your solutions. So basically it's ensuring that your systems are well architected on the cloud for both security and resilience. My parting shot would be that migration to the cloud is inevitable, right? It's just a matter of time before your CEO comes and says, I want to make that data center an office for salespeople. It's just a matter of time before your clients tell you that I want to access this solution, I want to have a 24 hours contact center. and you are forced to migrate to the cloud. At 11 degrees, as partners, we get to give you funding on your first migration to the cloud. And this basically would reduce your initial cost to migrating to the cloud to up to 70% discount. So I urge all of you to reach out to our booth, and we'll have a conversation from there.
Okay, thank you. David, how will you handle technological failure and also your parting shot?
All right, thanks. So I think I can start by saying, similar to hacking and cyber issues, that it's either you're hacked, you already hacked, or you don't know you're hacked, or you're about to be hacked. Even technology, it's either just failed before or about to fail or will fail.
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable. And remember, you can share responsibility, like you are talking about shared responsibility, but you cannot delegate accountability. At the end of the day, you are the one as a Sacco who is, expected to secure the members' interests. Most of the cloud providers, including the SaaS in core banking, they have very secure terms and contracts. It will be very hard for you to shift liability to them in any way. So just ensure you have a good disaster recovery plan to fall to when things fall off, because they might fall off very soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Over to you, Peter.
God forbid, anything can happen. So it doesn't mean that when you're on-prem, you're foolproof. I remember the other day there was county government offices that caught fire, and all their documents got burnt. And I can only put myself in such a situation if I was the person responsible. What kind of comment would I have made to my boss and to the general public? So at the end of the day, what we need to do is understand that cloud is here to stay, and it's inevitable. So what we need to do is just pick up ourselves and start adopting it as early as now. In fact, right now we don't need a lot of money to start using cloud, because one of the biggest issues that I've faced with customers, not just in the Saccos fraternity, is the issue of budgets and the issue of security. Okay, so let's adopt technology, and let's train our talents, let's train our team so that they can be able to mitigate the risk that comes with adopting technology. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. And my parting shot will be just to summarize what they've said. Moving to the cloud is inevitable, and it's as certain as success or death. And the earlier you understand it, the better it will be for you, and the easier it will be when time comes for you to migrate to the cloud. Thank you very much for having me and having us. And if you have any question, I'm sure my panelists will be very glad to respond to them after the session, and I can too. So yeah, thanks a lot, and have a nice evening.